Toast of Calcutta. The hot March night at the palace of the Maharaja of Palutta. The air was heavy with bats, perfume, and people, because it was the night before the wedding of the prince. The Ranchipur River was covered with black and white swans and iridescent barges where magicians with cobras held forth to the amazement of the English and American guests. The terrace gardens were lit with fantastic lanterns, and all the elephants had been painted gold. And the sound of primitive music gave the whole celebration a Cecil B. DeMille reality. Now the Maharaja was well pleased with the appearance of gaiety, because no one knew better than he that the priceless Kalama ruby of 84 carats had vanished. His wedding gift to the bride. Without being observed, he dispatched 503 of his finest spies to bring back not only the ruby, but the bridegroom who had not yet appeared at the fete. And the bride, Attu, meaning withered flower in any language, was beginning to notice it, even through her 7 bales of cashmere. Without wishing to alarm her, he said, "Attu, my dear, the prince is like the rising sun. He'll be up any minute now." To which Attu replied, "Time marches on." Little did they realize that miles away, in the wooden temple of hate, the prince was making violent love to the most beautiful of all spies, Tajabu, the Toast of Calcutta. He was convinced it was here he would find the ruby, and Tajabu was letting him look everywhere. Now Tajabu had a price on her head, but everything else was free, and the prince was finding it out all too quickly, and was giving away state secrets with every impassioned breath, because here was love at last like liquid fire. Tajabu was taking the whole thing down in tattoo. She was a sight for the Foreign Office from her ankles up. She was once an untouchable, but now all she could say was, "Don't, don't, don't," and not mean it. Pink baby pandas were beginning to appear before the prince's fevered gaze, and the old Indian rope trick was no longer working. Tajabu was taking everything down, and the prince was going over her with a shaking hand, claiming everything for India. England had been trying for years for the real appeasement, but the prince had just found it the most exciting place, when suddenly in a flash of lightning, the temple was stormed by 503 of the emperor's finest spies. But they were not quick enough for Tajabu. 10 seconds later, when the torches flared, Tajabu was gone and the prince was dead. Tajabu took with her the real appeasement, but in the gay give and take of her secret service, the Kalama ruby changed naval bases, and to this very day, there is a tower of ivory in the heart of Bombay, dedicated to the brave young prince who gave his life to bring back the ruby of Palutta from the black hole of Calcutta. Oh, evening star. Symbolica Wells never had to be told about the stork, because she always ducked in time. When she was only 4 years old, she realized she had something she was going to use the rest of her life. And it wasn't so. Most women call it charm, but most men call it a pain in the back. And other men are too tongue-tied to tell. Symbolica became the sweetheart of Hollywood and the favorite of Paris. In fact, the most understood woman on the French front. Her approach was so simple. And I mean simple. And the result was so devastating. Later on the New York stage, she could twist a line of Shakespeare until it bent double. And make an old buzzard out of Rostan when the part only called for a rooster. When her private life became glamorous enough for the reviewers, she was permitted to play 5 of the largest parts on the contemporary stage, including an uncut Hamlet. And even the critics admitted she had something, even if they couldn't put their finger on it. Time and time again, Symbolica took love right in her stride. And when the flame died down, she dumped the ashes into her autobiography. And when the whole damn thing was over, she usually crept sadly into bed with a straight brandy and her agent. This time her agent was Jimmy Pump, who took 15% of her brandy and his clothes off at the same time. And it didn't take him long either. The grinding years moved on. One day, she said, Jimmy, times are so bad, we actually have to live on my salary. Jimmy was no longer too amused by Symbolica's talent, which was beginning to creak, or her brandy, which was always running between them. So in desperation, he decided to throw her into a revival. He chose the old lady shows her medals. As he started putting on his shoes, Symbolica was so mad, she could hardly take it. But as Jimmy went out of the door, he said, anything I say tonight is all off in the morning unless you hear from me. Symbolica was now madder than hell. Leaning down under the bed, she grabbed her autobiography and wrote, it takes more than one brandy to run this pump, and it takes more than one pump to make this well run dry. Thank you for coming. Slipper, the youngest sea lion at the Central Park Zoo, had just had her biggest day. She'd taken 32 water calls. And finally, to everyone's astonishment, she decided to make a speech. Thank you for coming. You've all been wonderful, just wonderful. I know our show isn't nearly as big as the elephants next door, or as amusing as the little foxes. But we do get the crowds because burlesque never dies. I want to thank our commissioner, Mr. Moses, for giving us the best spot in the park. And I want to thank Mother for marrying Daddy and giving me this chance. That's Daddy up on the rock with the bent whiskers resting on his laurels, which are still quite active, I must say, because he has to keep 4 wives diving at once, and that's a trick, as you all must know. But he's a great trooper, even though at times I don't know whether he's a father or a friend. He's so sexy. He's awfully tired today, or I wouldn't be able to make this little speech. Because last night he gave a midnight performance for Mother, just to keep her mouth shut. All underwater. That's the old man for you. But the show was tops. It was pretty late for me to be up, but I hate to miss anything. And you'd be surprised how different the midnight audience is from the matinees. Not that I don't like children, I'm just a child myself. Even though Walter Winchell says that I'm going to merge with that Ringling Circus CEO as soon as the old tramp is renovated. And Charlie Knickerbocker says that next year I'm going to be Glamour Seal #1. If Daddy doesn't double-cross me the way he did Sister. She's in Brooklyn now. She's lost all sense of direction. Isn't that a shame? One of the great tragedies of New York society. I'm only telling you all this because you are my fan. You've had my autograph splashed all over you. Every show we give is different, and next time it's Mother, who is going to balance the bouncing terrasphere on her. Oh my God, goodbye! Goodbye! I've got to duck. Here comes the old man with that thing in his eye. Don't look now.